In this workshop, I'm going to be auditing 2 pieces of content. And what we're looking for is where are we positioning for freebie seekers and fence sitters versus or instead of premium buyers who are decision makers, who are change makers, who are committed to their change and to their journey. Where can we convert faster? So instead of where everyone else teaches you, oh, you need to have 50 touch points, right, to before someone makes a sale, or you need to speak to them 100 million times, and you need to nurture them X amount of times before they'll actually buy from you. Instead, what we want is less touch points with more resonance, with deeper messaging. With the difference between a client paying you one time versus many times over and over again, right? And staying in your ecosystem. So that these are the points that we want to address today so that we're not haggling, we're not justifying pricing, we're not stopping at price objections. Rather, these are addressed in our content. So here we are on number 2. This is a parenting coach, and her topic, currently one of the main topics that she's addressing right now, and the biggest frustration her clients are having are around screen time. So I'm gonna look at this piece of content. Just to give you a heads up, a piece of content is then calling people into a workshop. So her CTA is a workshop. I'm not sure if it's free or a low ticket. It doesn't mention, and I don't know that. I don't have that information. I'm going to assume it's a free sort of introduction to it or a low ticket. So if screen time has started to feel like a daily battle in your home, so she's speaking to the frustrations of conflicts with kids around screen time. So in its totality, what I really like about it is that it is a real lived problem. I think many of us, even maybe you're not parents or don't have that problem yet, can imagine that this is becoming a problem all around. Like it instantly mirrors the current realities and experiences for most guardians and most parents. What she did was she added a lot of research based on what child health professionals are saying. So there's a lot of credibility and source in here. This adds credibility. That is not, she's just not pulling her opinion out of thin air. Then there's also things in her languaging like you're not alone, there's no blame or judgment, which has its pros and cons. It works because it kind of reduces defensive-ness. There's more willingness for your audience to stay with the actual message. And there's a clear next step, there's a solution, there's this workshop to show the parents what you have around this topic, right? So positioning wise, it's positioned because there is a lot of here's what research and childhood professionals are seeing, and they go into the different sections of brain and development, mental health, mental and emotional health, sleep, body and physical health, social development. What it's reading is that it's like parenting education, public health awareness, school newsletter type, blogging type content, right? And so we want to position you as a parenting coach expert, someone who isn't just giving information, but can actually help parents with these challenges and battles that they're facing. So I suggest applying a different angle to this kind of content piece or into your messaging in general, right? Because right now it reads off as some like NHS style Instagram carousel blog. Like that's not who you are, right? You are a personal brand. You have a lot of clout behind you. You have worked with so many people in many areas of life, and you are a parent and you have lived experience through this. So instead of like how screens affect your children, you're basically flipping the conversation to like what kind of parent are you choosing to be, and like what is your leadership style within the home. And that's a whole different angle. One is educational information based. The other one is I will help you reduce the conflict in a way that your children benefits. So for example, you can choose to say something like families I work with aren't looking to remove screen, because that's what you told me also in a different conversation. I know that. Families I work with aren't looking to remove screens. They are looking to restore calm and clarity around them. Right. So we're reframing the whole dialogue around this. So instead of sounding like NHS type information, government public health information campaign, we want you to exit that category and create a category of your own where you are empowering leadership in parents. Like that's a whole different conversation, right? So we can frame screen boundaries with screen time as a leadership decision, as a leadership approach, and not a well-being intervention. basically what I'm trying to put forward here. So what I see is, because this is the part where I feel like it's public health awareness information, and it's also using the fear-based methods of public health information, which I'm not sure is your style. I feel like there's a misalignment in here. And again, I say this with a little bit of bias because I know you. And from a pure, like, detached version, is this languaging going to attract a premium buyer who's ready to invest high ticket coaching with you? Even as a parent who's very concerned about all of these matters, is this activating a response to work on it? Again, are you selling boundaries around screen time, or are you selling parenting coaching that has all of its outcomes, advantages, and benefits for the family, for the parents, for the children? Also, this kind of languaging positions it for parents who are overwhelmed and struggling with all of this, which again may attract, I mentioned it in the earlier content audit, it may attract people who want to be validated in their struggle and not necessarily looking for real change in the house. So people who would blame the devices and blame the technology, or have or feel like they're hopeless or helpless around the whole situation, feel like they don't have a contribution because this is the world right now. Modern parenting is hard, you say in your content, right? And so it can sort of validate people in that idea of, well, today's parenting is hard, it's different, and they might feel like helpless or out of control in that. So instead, you want to speak to more ready to buy clients who are more empowered, and those who know that there are more effective ways of going about this. There are more empowering ways going about this. They know that oftentimes these conflicts around screen time and the battles is just another way in which parenting and leadership is manifesting itself. We know that this could probably spill over into other areas of the family dynamics and relationships, right? So I know that these are things that I feel like I've seen from you in your content, but yeah. So we want to shift languaging around this. So if screen time feels like a battle in your home, instead we want to say something like, if you're the kind of parent who doesn't want devices shaping your child's nervous system, sleep, or social behavior, like, that's very different. This is for you, or you're not alone. Listen up. This is the invitation. What's happening here? You're adding very clear identity qualifiers, not just based on screen time feeling like a daily battle, but you're qualifying who this work is for and who this post is for. So at the top of the content, you're filtering out the time wasters, the people who need validation in their limitations. You see, like, you're calling out the person who this work is actually for. Why do we do that? Because if you're going to bring in a bunch of whiners and screamers into your workshop, they're not going to be the no judgment to people. Call it, say it as it is, right? They're not going to be the people who are going to invest, right? And your workshop is not for everybody. You don't want to be wasting your time, and the sale will be a lot harder. Okay. So now we're talking to people who have standards and who like have a more mindful awareness of things, and who want to actually do the work, who are willing to do the work, who are willing to invest time, energy, and money in the process, because they understand the long-term outcomes and impact of this. For all of you doing coaching, healing, consulting, I think this is very key and important, that you're speaking to people who are willing to do the work, who are committed not only financially but in time and energy. When people are working with me, I don't just care about do they have the money, but do they have the capacity. I've told people to put it on hold, because even if they had the money ready, the mindset or the capacity, or there were too many things going on, we had to hold out, right? So think of it from that perspective. When we're explaining things like this, for example, in this case, she's sharing what research and child health professionals are seeing. We're positioning ourselves as the interpreter, but instead we want to position ourselves as an authority, someone who actually, as we mentioned earlier, not only gets you and understands like how the whole thing works, but is actually someone who knows enough to lead you to the next step. or lead you through. This is where we differentiate between empathizing and validating limitations. The good news, small changes make a big difference. It's a bit like consensus language. Yeah, this is not about blame or judgment, like reassurance. Screens aren't the enemy. I may be overreacting on this, but subconsciously this is potentially also going on. Remember, another thing, your audience are 99.99% reading, consuming your content from a very subconscious space. They're not consciously sitting down with every word like I am doing right now. And so you need to remember that you're actually speaking to your audience's subconscious, which needs very simple language, very simple instruction. When I look at this call to action, I'm currently developing a practical workshop focused on If this is something you'd like to support with, comment workshop or send me a message, I'll share the details. Subconscious needs very simple language, very simple instructions. Do this, do that. Or better yet, just one action. Simple action, one single action. People are more likely to respond in that way. Okay. So instead, we want to move to from interpreting what other people say into the authority. So instead, you can say something like, in my work, the difference between ongoing screen conflict and ease at home is really the devices. So you're taking a stance, you're telling them what's different. It's the support structure around it, right? So you're giving them some kind of differentiating factors. And what you're doing with that kind of statement is that you're actually giving your parents, your clients, your guardians, giving them back their responsibility around it. Okay, so again, filtering out people who believe that they have no control in the situation because modern parenting is hard and we weren't taught how to have healthy boundaries around it, like, which is fine. You're mentioning it, you're saying it as it is. Most of us were never shown how to set healthy boundaries, right? Like, you're saying it as it is, but it may attract people who feel helpless around it. And we don't want to speak to people feeling stuck, because stuckness is like stagnancy, people not wanting to move, right? So instead, we want to move with what they actually want. We lead with what they want, we lead with outcomes. So I support parents or guardians establish calmer and more connected homes, for example, then you say with what, how you do it. For example, practical strategies. I'm reusing your wording over here and I'm just putting it into one sentence. I support parents establish calmer and connected homes with practical strategies, healthy boundaries, and conscious parenting leadership, for example. Okay, I'm just regurgitating some of your own language. My upcoming workshop. So look at the difference between, I'm currently developing a practical parent workshop. So instead, I'm going to type it out. So instead, we can say something like, my upcoming workshop will help you reduce screen time, battles, and conflicts while supporting your children's big emotions around device usage. Now, this could probably be much shorter, right? You're seeing it come up in red. I'm basically using Hemingway, and that's shown as hard to read. For those of you who want, this is Hemingway Editor. It's a free app. There's a paid version. It shows you like the readability scale and all of that stuff. But you see, even this is a difficult to read. We want to make this as simple as possible. Probably this also because of that. But see the difference? Instead of, I'm currently developing a practical parent workshop focused on real life strategy, there's a lot to unpack through this to understand what's actually going on. Okay, instead of, if this is something you'd like support with, comment that. Instead, you just say comment workshop. I'll send you the details. Telling people I'll share details when it's ready is encouraging postponement and delay instead of take action now. It doesn't matter if your workshop is ready or not ready. This is not a memo to your team, to your internal team. This is your marketing and sales. Very different languaging. You might tell your staff, your team, your assistant, I'll send you this when it's ready. For your audience, you want people to take action immediately. and you want to get them used to taking action immediately. You want to see who are the people who take action immediately, because that's a big indicator of who's hot and who's not. Who's hot and interested, and who's like, yeah, 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 I'll hear from it one day maybe. They won't even comment probably, right? And so you want to have more assertive language around your call to actions. This part that is linked to outcomes and advantages of these small changes make a big difference. And but instead we want to like speak more on, again, the high stakes of why people will invest with you. Why are parents going to invest with you to keep screens out of the bedrooms at night, to have device-free meals, or what they are able to do because of that? Watch your kids get a restful sleep. Have your kids wake up in the morning and not be irritated and agitated the moment they leave their bedroom. Be able to have conversation at breakfast time and at lunchtime, dinner time, whatever, and actually build true connection with your kids. Like, what is the most important? Why are they going to invest? Understand why your daughter has been answering back or closing the door. Again, these are kind of some outcomes, but are these the reasons why your people buy? Understand the motives, the true desires. These may be surface signals, what they say they want, but what do they truly want? And what are they ready to invest in? People come and tell me, I want more leads, for example. Fine, yes, we can look at a lead gen strategy, but what do you actually want? Well, I don't want to be spending 6 hours a day during marketing, and then I feel like I have no capacity to actually take on clients. So we need to look at reducing your time spent in marketing and actually increasing your capacity to increase clients, right? We need to look at profitability. How much time, effort, and energy are you spending in marketing, and what is your return on the other side? That's what we need to look at, right? Because you don't want to be burned out. That's what we need to look at, right? So these are the reasons why people invest, not because they need more leads, because actually they can't handle more leads right now with their current setup. So listen, marketing is 90% listening. I'm inventing that, but the biggest part of marketing is actually listening to what people are saying, how they're saying it. Be the investigator when you're speaking with your leads. Understand why they're saying certain things. Understand their beliefs and motives behind what they're saying. It will look different for all of your different niches, of course. We get to apply this when we actually like work together, and I know more of who you're attracting right now. It's looking at the languaging on a surface level and initiating you obviously into some of the concepts and models and principles that I use, that basically build on, or rather weave into, the client connection code and the incomparable positioning path. And these are my two IPs. Let's say these are my two methods that I help my clients with, that basically allows you to attract prospects that once you come into a sales conversation, they're already pre-sold on you. They're already pre-sold on you, they're already pre-sold on your methodology. It's just about having a conversation around the logistics, basically. That would be like an ideal part when it comes to marketing on your front end. Right, and that's what we also do inside the premium messaging micromind. This is a small container that we will have a group probably starting next week, where we really like work. It's a small container, small group, but we'll be working one-to-one. So all of these audits will dive deeper into your messaging. We'll unpack where you're like missing the mark on positioning, where you're sounding like everyone else, and where you can be more seen as the obvious choice and the expert in your niche. Yeah. But that's one way of working together. Obviously, there are other ways that I help my clients, and we can have private conversations around that. Today was the audit. So I'm just going to hit pause. For those of you who are watching on replay, yeah, we do more of these kind of audits inside my Telegram channel. So you're welcome to come in there, get your content audit from time to time.